Ellen DeGeneres' career is the perfect example of the saying, what goes around comes around. Even though her on-screen acts of generosity and slogan of be kind created a multi-award winning talk show, Ellen's deplorable behavior behind the scenes garnered a reputation so damaging that it would eventually undermine everything she built.
Let me see what else I can tell you about that. It's been going on. Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business. Yeah.
Hi, I'm the InternetAnarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be delving deep into the well-deserved downfall of TV's most hated comedian, Ellen DeGeneres. How her persona of positivity captivated millions, who Ellen was when the cameras were off, and what happened to her career when these two parts of her life inevitably collided. To say Ellen had a knack for stand-up comedy would be a gross understatement. Within 5 years of dropping out of college to pursue comedy, Ellen went from working an MC gig at a local pub to winning the award for the funniest female comedian in America and getting her first television appearance in the popular 80s talk show The Tonight Show.
I'm always thinking about these things because to me life is very precious. It's very special. We're here for such a short time that everything on this earth should have a reason, should have a beneficial purpose. And I feel like everything does, except for fleas. You know? Fleas do nothing at all beneficial. I always thought at times like this when we can't figure it out for ourselves, wouldn't it be great if we could just pick up the phone and call up God and ask him these things? Just pick up the phone and call up God. Yeah, hi God, this is Ellen. Ellen. DeGeneres. DeGeneres. What's so funny? No, I never thought of that. It does sound like that, doesn't it?
Ellen's unique perspective on life, deadpan humor, and sardonic personality both entertained audience members and built a connection with them. While her stand-up routine was sometimes self-depreciating, Ellen always based her jokes on relatable everyday situations, which gave her performance a broad appeal. This translated into Ellen starring in her own sitcom about a quote neurotic bookstore owner who deals with life through comedy and extensive rambling.
What'd you do that for?
I can't believe you'd want to watch this. She's our friend. That's disgusting. Wait a minute, where'd you get this tape anyway?
I don't know, by the TV, from that box.
That's Anita's box.
Apparently. What else is in that box?
While the series was a hit with fans and received multiple Emmy Awards, ABC cancelled it in 1998 following the controversial puppy episode, which saw Ellen become the first openly homosexual lead character on a television show.
See the truth. I mean, be who I am. I'm 35 years old. I'm so afraid to tell people. I mean, Susan, I'm gay.
Even though she was able to get roles in other TV and movie productions, Ellen's first taste of controversy left an indelible mark on her career.
And the sitcom had been very successful. It wasn't. It went downhill. It did make a difference.
Huge.
And then you had a very tough time. You couldn't get a job. What was that like?
Not only couldn't get a job, couldn't get someone on a phone. I mean, they're literally, the show was canceled and no one called me. It was just, I found out, my assistant read it in the paper. And, I felt sorry for myself. I felt like this isn't fair. I thought people liked me, and why did this change anything? And I still am the same person, and, everything felt horrible to me.
However, entering the 2000s, Ellen's career would get a revival through her voice acting role as Dory in the highly successful animated movie Finding Nemo. Ellen's performance as Dory positively impacted her career in 3 distinct ways. 1, it reminded old viewers of what made Ellen's comedic style so special. 2, it introduced her to a whole new viewer base. And 3, it reignited interest in her career from Hollywood executives. By the 8th of September 2003, Ellen made her debut as a daytime talk show host with the first episode of The Ellen DeGeneres Show.
Cue cards are right there, and you may not think I need cue cards, but every single thing I'm saying is on the cue card. For instance, excuse me, my throat is so dry. Let me show you right here. We have.
While the show followed a standard Hollywood talk show formula, Ellen's positivity, upbeat personality, and wholesome interactions with guests and audience members were truly what set her show apart.
It's minutes before showtime, and Ellen DeGeneres is warming up the staff, warming up the people who didn't manage to get a seat in her studio, warming up herself, and finally, warming up her studio audience for the show.
From making huge charity donations to giving gifts to her audience, Ellen always made her shows a feel-good experience for everyone watching.
That's me on the front of this Cheerios box right there, and here's the big part. If you have a box of Cheerios under your seat, I'm gonna give you a special surprise gift. So check and see if you have a box of Cheerios under your seat. So all of you got, isn't that interesting that what a coincidence all of you would get a box of Cheerios. You're all gonna share this gift. It's the biggest gift I've ever given anybody, ever. And I hope you continue to pay it forward and share all the good. Hold on to your Cheerios because all of you are splitting $1 million.
Making the audience feel good is always good for the ratings, as the Ellen DeGeneres show would run for almost 20 years, draw in millions of viewers per episode, and win 80+ awards. Combine this with Ellen's skillful use of social media to promote her show, and it's no wonder why she was a household name for so long. However, that success wouldn't last forever, as the public perception of the show and its hosts were gradually flipped on its head, as viewers got a closer look behind Ellen's mask of positivity. Throughout Ellen's time as a talk show host, there has always been a subtle but consistent undercurrent of resentment from people who either knew her personally or worked with her professionally. The first major signs of this would come during the 2007 Writers Guild of America strike. At the time, Ellen refused to side with her writers by crossing the picket line to continue working on the show. While some saw Ellen's decision as a necessary evil to maintain the jobs of the non-writing staff, others saw this choice as a selfish ploy to keep her ratings up. Around this time, one of Ellen's former writers would make a blog post discussing who she really was when the cameras weren't rolling. We'd watch her in rehearsals, smiling and winning us over with her charm and comic timing. Then the director would yell cut, her face would fall, and she'd level a glare at the writers. Why do you keep writing these unfunny jokes? I'm disappointed in Ellen, but not surprised, given what I've seen from her with my own two eyes. While these claims wouldn't have much impact on Ellen's public image, this entire incident sowed the seeds of doubt in viewers' minds and opened the door to skepticism to her trademark acts of kindness. At the end of the day, if Ellen wasn't willing to show some compassion to the people she worked with, then was she worthy of being deemed as a kind person? By the late 2010s, suspicion around her kind persona had festered to the point that people were making compilations of and writing articles about the worst things Ellen has ever done. From insensitive jokes about guests' every single time Ellen let the mask slip and exposed her true intentions. A particularly egregious example of this was the infamous gift shop incident. During one of her episodes, Ellen tried to test the trustworthiness of her audience with a gift shop where people could only take one item. Ellen would single her out of the crowd and humiliate her in front of everyone.
I really, I'm sorry, that's embarrassing and everything, but you know, let that be a lesson to you, because you think,
It is.
you think nobody's watching you and you just need to be a good person just because you want to be a good person. You go sit in that Ellen jail over there right now. No, you'll steal stuff back there. Come here, this way. What's your sister's name?
Anna.
All right.
While you could chuck these up to being isolated incidents, it became difficult to ignore Ellen's possible mean streak with the release of an article from the New York Times titled, "Ellen DeGeneres is not as nice as you think." The post discussed Ellen's return to stand-up comedy, her struggle between being nice on camera and being a person with a broader spectrum of emotions, and her thoughts about people who didn't think she was a kind person. Reading, "That bugs me if someone is saying that, because it's an outright lie. The first day I said, the one thing I want is everyone here to be happy and proud of where they work. and if not, don't work here. No one is going to raise their voice or not be grateful. That's the rule to this day. This statement suggested that Ellen's workplace had always been a place that fostered positivity and happiness. Unfortunately, the reality of working with Ellen was about to be revealed as anything but a happy experience. We've all got those habits that just stick, whether it's grabbing a drink to fit in at a party or reaching for something just because your hands feel empty. For moments like that, Fume, the sponsor of today's video, is a game changer. Fume is a flavored air device designed to give you something better to reach for. It's completely nicotine free, has no vapor, and comes in non-toxic flavors like crisp mint, my personal favorite. Fume doesn't require batteries or charging, so it's always ready to use whenever you need it. To sweeten the deal, it's also a third of the cost of most habits, making it an affordable and guilt-free alternative. Think of it as an awesome way to fill in that hand-to-mouth fixation without any of the usual downsides. Plus, Fume doubles as a sleek fidget tool with satisfying magnets and clicks, perfect for keeping both your hands and mind busy. Want to try it? Head to tryfume.com/InternetAnarchist and use code InternetAnarchist to get a free Fume topper with your journey pack. Scan the QR code on screen and start your better habit journey today. With that being said, let's get back into the video. On the 17th of July 2020, Buzzfeed released an article detailing the toxic work experiences of one current and 10 former employees of the Ellen DeGeneres show, reading, "That be kind bullshit only happens when the cameras are on. It's all for the show," one former employee told the Buzzfeed News. "I know they give money to people and help them out, but it's for show." The former employees would also highlight instances of upper management making racist comments, playing favorites, and suppressing complaints of workplace toxicity, reading, "I never felt like it was safe to go to my manager when I had issues, because this was the same person who would wait for me to go to the bathroom and then message me asking me where I was and why I wasn't at my desk." Even though Ellen might not be directly responsible for the toxic working conditions surrounding her show, people saw her as the face of talk show positivity and wanted to hold her accountable, especially when it's being relayed to the public as a long-running issue.
Hedda Muscat was with Ellen from the beginning in 2003 when the talk show was launched.
We were told from the very beginning, don't talk to Ellen, don't do this, you can't, go into her office. It was very nerve-wracking, very stressful. We all walked on eggshells all the time.
Muscat says, despite Ellen's Queen of Nice reputation, it became clear early on that it would not be a pleasant place to work. One incident with executive producer Ed Glavin left her shaken.
We were in our production meetings and she would watch Ed go off on people. Ellen would look at Ed and she would laugh because I was hoping she was going to say, "Ed, you can't be yelling at crew this way. You can't be yelling at people this way." She laughed and she said, "Every production needs their dog." Meaning Ed is her dog.
Like her attack dog.
Her attack dog. So therefore she doesn't need to do that.
The claims made by staff only become more compelling when you factor in the viral Twitter thread from Calvin Portner, which mentioned several unpleasant interactions with fans Ellen had over the years, reading, "When I was 15, Ellen was doing a contest of fans making a bust of her and sending it to her. I worked so hard on this and even wrote her a letter. Weeks later, she used it as a prop in a game and gave it away to a random person with $500 attached to the bottom." In response to mounting public outrage, Warner Media investigated and fired the 3 offending executives. Not long after, Ellen sent a memo to her employees addressing the controversy and trying to salvage the situation, reading, "On day 1 of our show, I told everyone in our first meeting that the Ellen DeGeneres show would be a place of happiness. No one would ever raise their voice and everyone would be treated with respect. Obviously something changed, and I'm disappointed to learn that this has not been the case, and for that, I am sorry. Anyone who knows me knows it's the opposite of what I believe and what I hoped for our show. As we've grown exponentially, I've not been able to stay on top of everything and relied on others to do their jobs as they knew I'd want them done. Clearly, some didn't. That will now change, and I'm committed to ensuring this does not happen again." Staff wouldn't be the only people Ellen apologized to, as she addressed her audience in a similarly sympathetic fashion.
I'm just so sorry that it's come to this. I really don't know what to say other than this has gone on way, 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 way too long. People have gotten away with murder, and that's what's happening. So we've got to see fairness and we've got to see justice for all, because right now this is not a fair world. Not at all.
Most viewers thought Ellen's vague apology was a hollow PR move meant to win back public favor, but that didn't stop her from trying to paint a different narrative. By the start of season 18, Ellen would once again address viewers and reassure them that everything was perfectly fine, despite the opposite being the case. It cost her show over 1 million viewers. And that was only the beginning, as the downward trend would continue for the rest of season 18. Upper management could see the writing on the wall, and by May of 2021, Ellen announced that season 19 would be her last season.
And today I have an announcement to make. Today, I am announcing that next season, season 19, is going to be my last season. So, the past 18 years, you have to know, has changed my life. You all have changed my life. And I am forever grateful to all of you for watching, for laughing, for dancing, sometimes crying. This show has been the greatest experience of my life, and I owe it all to you.
When asked about how she felt about the show ending, Ellen would try to play it off and describe it as an emotional experience for everyone.
How did it feel in that moment?
To say it today?
Yes.
Emotional. Because I haven't been sleeping. I've been trying to, anticipate how to tell them and, hope that everybody would take it okay. A lot of people were very emotional, and I got emotional. So that was that first step. And then today was the first time telling, everybody else. So it was emotional.
However, when pressed about the controversy that spawned her low rating, Ellen would be far less charitable with her words.
I don't have to remind you there was an allegation of a toxic workplace. You had to get rid of 3 top managers here. People went after you personally. Did that have anything to do with this decision?
Well, it's certainly, if it was why I was quitting, I would have not come back this year, because everything happened, what you're talking about, is last summer. And honestly, I really did think about not coming back, because it was devastating. Because it started with me. It started with attacks on me and attacking everything that I stand for and believe in and built my career around. I am a kind person. I am a person who likes to make people happy. I am a people pleaser. This is who I am. There must be some truth to it, because it's not stopping.
Worse still, Ellen wouldn't take any accountability and described the incident as a coordinated attack.
I still don't understand it. I thought something was going on that because it was too orchestrated, it was too coordinated. And, people get picked on, but for 4 months straight for me, and then for me to read in the press about a toxic work environment, when all I've ever heard from every guest that comes on the show is what a happy atmosphere this is and what a happy place it is.
Even though Ellen was the face and figurehead of the show, she made it seem like she didn't have full control over or knowledge of the workplace culture.
People who are thinking, how could you not know? And if you didn't know, should you have known?
I don't know how I could have known when there's 255 employees here. And there are a lot of different buildings and a lot of different, there are different areas, and I delegate. There are bosses to each different area. It is my name on the show, so clearly it affects me, and I have to be the one to stand up and say, this can't be tolerated, we need to make changes, what can I do? And, unless I literally, stayed here until the last person goes home at night and checked in with 255 people, but I do wish somebody would have come to me and said, hey, something's going on that you should know about. I had no idea.
As you'd imagine, no one was going to buy Ellen's claims of ignorance, with commenters stating, guests talking about a happy atmosphere is very different than the atmosphere of staff working in, as well as, you can treat celebrities on your show with a big smile, welcoming attitude, and respect, but it's the way you treat those who aren't the celebrities, the staff, or the behind-the-scenes staff that really shows your character. The disconnect was that Ellen saw the controversy as an isolated incident, while the audience and staff saw it as more of a systematic issue. In reality, Ellen's lack of sympathy, care, and concern for her employees and fans proved that the show's inspirational and uplifting message was entirely manufactured, only being put at the forefront when the cameras were rolling. What makes this even worse is how these revelations recontextualized the previous rumors about Ellen's behavior.
This audience member on The Ellen Show is now revealing how she went from thrilled to getting really upset.
You just expect a lot when you go to meet your idol, and then when you get disappointed, it's like such a letdown.
In 2018, Dana DiMatteo flew from Chicago to Los Angeles and was delighted to be picked out of the audience to have some fun with Ellen. But then she says she was shocked when she was briefed on the comedy bit by the producers.
They tell you, you can't be smarter, funnier than Ellen. She's the comedian and the star, not you.
Ellen's motto is be kind.
Be kind to one another.
But Dana says Ellen was actually the opposite on the day she visited.
How does the Ellen we see on TV compare to the Ellen you saw when the camera stopped rolling?
Totally different. She would only speak to the audience when the cameras were rolling. As soon as they turned the cameras off, she would not even acknowledge the audience. She would just sit on the couch, basically.
This abrasive pattern of behavior would be on full display in Ellen's final comedy special in 2024, dubbed For Your Approval.
Here's the problem. I'm a comedian who got a talk show, and I ended the show every day by saying, be kind to one another. Had I ended my show by saying, go fuck yourselves, people would have been pleasantly surprised to find out I'm kind. I didn't go into this business for money. It was about healing my childhood wounds. I thought if I could make people happy, then they'll like me. And if they like me, I'll feel good about myself. And all I can say about that is thank God for the money.
From glossing over the toxic workplace experience she created, to making snide comments about the complaints from former fans and co-workers, Ellen did everything in her power to be as insufferable as possible, and viewers weren't going to let her get away with it. The comedy special would review extremely poorly and create another wave of hate towards Ellen. At this point, it didn't seem like Ellen cared about people knowing the truth about her. She had already concluded one of the most prolific talk show runs in television history and could now work on any project she wanted, so it made sense that she'd completely discard any pretense of positivity. However, in doing so, Ellen also discarded the essence of the show that made her popular and gave her a legacy, which proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was all an act from day one.